more sunlight trying to come out today. It got warmer too. And what's going on today? I guess I read this at first, which was kind of interesting. It dealt with, I guess, let's just say military drones in Canada, but the issue is there might not be enough people to actually fly them. This one says, use reservists to operate new fleet of drones. RCAF leaders told. The RCAF is dealing with significant challenges bringing in new recruits and retaining its existing staff, raising concerns it won't have enough personnel to operate and maintain a host of new aircraft the Canadian government is acquiring. Wouldn't you think of this before bringing, I guess, the equipment in? It says Canada's Airforce, faced with shortages of full-time personnel, needs to rely more heavily on its reservists to operate the new fleet of drones it will soon receive, senior military leaders have been told. A multi-billion-dollar contract for drones is expected to be signed next year, with first deliveries to the Royal Canadian Air Force by 2026. But the RCAF is dealing with the significant challenges bringing in new recruits and retaining its existing staff, raising concerns it won't have enough personnel to operate and maintain a host of new aircraft the Canadian government is acquiring. That includes a fleet of drones that could cost up to $5 billion. One solution that senior RCAF leaders need to examine is to rely more heavily on reserve personnel for the drone fleet. It says that drones will be used for intelligence gathering and surveillance and will be equipped with the capability of attacking ground targets. The drones are expected to be initially operating in 2026, with the fleet fully operational by 2030, according to an April 5, 2023 RCAF briefing on the equipment. I remember that other article before that talked about how people just simply don't want to join the armed forces here, and so they're running out of people just in general. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here. It makes me wonder in terms of the skill set. Is it, for example, mostly remote? You're in a base operating this stuff, so is it mostly just technical that people would need in terms of skill? And reading this article made me wonder, okay, is this truly going to create fear? All the people just using things like cinematography drones or even FPV drones now? Because here it says, Hollywood drone technology to target Russian tanks. Kamikaze quadcopters, racing drones with explosive payloads have become a feature of the war in Ukraine. Often known as FPV drones and piloted using video goggles, they are more challenging to fly than a regular quadcopter, but capable of diving into trenches, going through doorways or hatches, or hitting moving vehicles. And they do say here in terms of, I guess, acquiring them, it says they've been built in small workshops by groups like Ukraine's Eskadron or by the soldiers themselves. Factory-made FPV drones are on the way for both sides. The most unusual type uses technology developed for the movie industry. And then they talk about US suppliers saying earlier this month, US company Red Cat Holdings announced an order for 200 FPV drones for Ukraine. The company is already well known for Golden Eagle reconnaissance quadcopters developed for the US Army by a subsidiary Teal under the Blue SUAS initiative as an alternative to Chinese-made consumer drones. Some Golden Eagles are already operating in Ukraine, but the military FPV drone is a new development. And according to this, these drones can carry about 2 pounds and you can fly them even if someone's trying to GPS jam the drones. That's kind of normal in many ways because these types of drones anyways, people use it for things like FPV racing and all that. It's all manual versus things like the GPS stability drones, like the DJI ones, for example, which is meant more for taking video and you want that stabilization. As well, they're using it for kamikaze purposes, and I highly doubt you'd need this thing to return to home with any GPS signals and all that. Either way, the war continues still, huh? On a different note, this must be help the parents here for me. Does anyone here know ICBC and cars a lot? Basically what happened, if you guys remember, not too long ago, there's someone who crashed into my dad's car. It was 100% the guy's fault, so that's fine. Just go through the insurance and all that. So apparently something happened during the process because during that time my dad was given one of those rental cars, I guess the ICBC insurance and stuff, they pay for it. And with that, the old car was taken by, I guess, the mechanic, for example. They drove it from one place to the other to repair it. And during that time, they discovered that all of a sudden they said the power steering no longer works. So from what I gather, they contacted ICBC telling them these are all the repairs that need to be done for the vehicle. But ICBC told them, we're not going to pay for that. The customer is going to have to do that. And the reason for that was, well, the power steering was working fine. For example, right after the accident, it only died during this whole process. So they shouldn't have to cover it. So with that, my dad is being asked to pay $1,200, I guess, to pick up his car and pay the fee for the repairs, which wasn't, quote, covered. So does anyone actually have experience with this? Because my only thought currently was I first would have to get, let's just say, a statement from that repair company where they acknowledge that, let's just say, that power steering or whatever died as a direct result of that crash, because technically they should cover it. Is that correct? I don't know how else that thing would, quote, die. Does anybody who knows cars really well could come up with a, I guess, hypothesis in terms of how that would happen? Because I would think if they don't want to basically say that in a technical way, like how it broke down and all that, what they repaired, then would it be accurate to say that damage of the power steering was as a result of whatever that mechanic did, so they should be charged for it, like not ICBC. So yeah, that's just one thing that's happening right now. But does anyone have any input in terms of that? Because that's kind of weird. Power steering and stuff worked when it was brought in, but all of a sudden it died during this whole process. So who would be to blame there, and what potentially happened, would you think? Like I said, it must be help the parents here. From what I read too, there is a possibility where that ICBC company just has employees that were trying to, I guess, reject claims because that's how they get evaluated in their performance, saying, oh, look how much money I saved the company. That's a possibility, I don't know. But from what I see, the next step, if everything basically doesn't work out, but all the facts are on my dad's side, then he has to go through this BC tribunal. That's from what I gather. Anyway, it's kind of like a mediation. It's like one of those again, huh? Alright, see you guys later.